Good evening. My name is Christy Denniston, and I'm the Executive Director for Marketing and Strategic Communication at Simpson College. And thank you all for joining us tonight. We're very excited for the Student Town Hall. I'm going to make a few introductions, and while I'm doing that, I'll also go over the Zoom etiquette. If you could just make sure that you're on mute and that you have your camera off, that would be great. And then if you do have a question, if you can send them directly to me at Christy Denniston on chat, we will just take them as they come in. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and make introductions. I have on the phone tonight or through Zoom, Bob Lane, our interim president, Cheryl Jacobson, our interim VP for Academic Affairs, Heidi Levine, who is our vice president for Student Affairs and Planning, and Tracy Pavon, who is our Assistant VP for Enrollment and Financial Assistance. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to President Lane, and then we'll begin answering your questions. Again, if you could go through the chat function and send them to Christy Denniston, we'll take them one at a time. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this town hall. I'm sure for all of you, this has been quite a journey so far this semester and May term, and it has been a similar journey for those of us on campus. I have to be honest and say it's not one that I've really enjoyed. We miss having you on campus, as well as seeing all of my colleagues. As I talk to you tonight, we're just 2 weeks away from the arrival of President Kelleher, the college's 24th president, and to say we're excited would be downplaying how much we're anxious to have her arrive and share the future with us. I hope that we will be able to see all of you back here soon. But until we do, I wish you and your families good health and safety, and look forward to answering any questions you might have tonight. And with that, I'll pass it off to the interim dean, Dean Jacobson.
Hi, everybody. I can't see any of your faces, which always bothers me a little bit because I'm used to having lots of faces in front of me when we chat at these things. But I'm glad you made time. If you have questions that need some answers, I hope we're going to be able to provide those for you tonight. So, Dr. Levine.
Thank you, Cheryl. Well, it is good to see your names on my screen, if not your faces. Most of you probably know me as Vice President for Student Development and Planning, and usually I'm getting to talk with you about all kinds of student-related issues on campus, and certainly happy to answer those questions this evening. I also am on this panel because I serve as the chair of Simpson's Crisis Management Team and have been working with my colleagues from across the campus to help us continue to plan for, walk through, make decisions regarding how we do Simpson during the COVID pandemic. So I will be happy to respond to questions about that as well as about campus life. And Tracy, your turn.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Pavon, and I'm Assistant Vice President for Enrollment and Financial Assistance. We miss you guys a lot. That is why we work at Simpson. You are why we work at Simpson. So hope we can answer any questions you might have today.
Great. The first question is for you, Tracy. Can you talk a little bit about if there's an anticipation of if financial aid will be the same for fall as it was stated in the what a student received in the spring? Will that commitment remain the same from Simpson College?
Sure. Simpson's commitment in terms of your financial assistance has not changed. When you start at Simpson, we give you a 4-year commitment, and we are on par to continue that. If you've already completed your FAFSA and done your paperwork, your necessary documents, you should already have your financial aid package that is visible on your SC Connect account. You would look at this year's financial aid package. If you have any questions, you can email us directly, but they are out there, they are set, and everything should be locked in place. The only thing we don't have a definite answer on yet is the Iowa tuition grant. It is always the last thing out of the funnel as the Ed Appropriations Bill is last out. And this year, the session was interrupted for quite some time. I don't even know if they're back in session yet. So we're just waiting for that finalized number and hoping it won't look much different than what we've predicted.
Great. The next question for President Lane. Can you share with us the status of athletics and the athletics plans for fall 2020, please?
Sure. The faculty athletic reps from all the conference schools, as well as the athletic directors, met last Thursday and had a full day of discussions about what the future might look like. Will we be back? And what will happen. Then on Friday, 15th, the conference commissioner released a statement, and the long and short of it was we are intending to have everyone back, having all of the athletic competitions that we would normally have. Realizing that statement is out there should tell you that it's obviously all of the school's hopes that we will be doing that. Can we guarantee that? No, but we sure intend to, and we'll do all we can. One, to have athletic competition. However, if we do that, you should also know that we will have it in a way that we can ensure all of our students' safety, as well as those coaches and referees and everyone else that would be involved.
Thank you. Again, if you have questions, if you can send them to Christy Denniston through the chat function, I'll make sure that they get answered. The next question is for Tracy, related to CARES funding. When can a student expect payment or a check from that additional funding?
Sure. If you applied for the CARES funding and we didn't have a question on your application, we made the first round of decisions last week, put them on financial aid awards on Friday. The business office is working on 2 weeks. They will be in the mail to you no later than Friday. I do want to remind you with the CARES Act, this is different than any other funding we've ever received in that the funding has to go in your hands as a student directly to you. So you're going to get a check. If you were a study abroad student, and let's say that Jay Wilkinson worked really hard on those study abroad trips and got a lot of funds back. Let's say that you were on the Africa trip. I believe the total cost for that trip that we could not recover ended up being $622. Then we are awarding you a CARES grant to cover that $622, but your bill at Simpson is $622. And we are, possibly, if you haven't paid it yet, we're issuing the check directly to you because that's what we have to do. And then you can make the choice if you need to spend that on other things or if you should pay us back for that $622 that you would owe. So we're funding it with CARES Act, but you just need to make sure that you understand that you might have a small bill with the college for if you had a bill before. If you didn't, you won't. It's just unusual that we're putting a check in your hands. And so I want to make that very clear that you could have a balance, not because of the CARES funding, but because you had a balance prior to the CARES funding.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next question, Heidi, there's a couple of parts to this question, so I'm just going to break it up and take it kind of one part at a time. So are you going to require people to wear masks? So we can address that question, and I'll just go through each question one at a time.
So it's a very timely question, actually, because we spent a good deal of time this afternoon in our crisis management team meeting talking through the first draft of a basic public health guidelines that we'll be following on campus this coming semester. And one of the things that is in there is guidelines about wearing masks. So while that is not finalized yet, I feel pretty safe saying that you should plan to come to campus with a couple of masks that you can use. They may be cloth masks that you can, wash and reuse. They may be disposable masks, but I anticipate that we are going to be asking people when they are out and about on campus and in places where they can't follow social distancing guidelines that they wear masks.
Great. What happens, or I guess the additional question, will you have more nurses on campus this fall?
We probably will. So that is also something that we've been talking about. We know that Katie Lee is amazing. We are blessed to have her and have been doubly blessed to have her the past few months, but one part-time nurse really can't provide the level of support that we anticipate needing. So that is among the things that we have been talking about doing, is getting some assistance for her for next semester.
Great. What if a student or professor doesn't want to come back to campus? Will there be options available to both of them?
So that is something that we have not yet worked through. We are going to be having discussions, I am guessing, over the next several weeks, particularly among the cabinet, about how we are going to address those issues. So everything from personnel issues, which is for faculty and staff, what we're talking about, through to both academic approaches for students, but also looking at our residential policies and whether or not there are any changes we need to make for the coming year.
Great, thank you. Tracy, another question for you. Is there anything I'm just going to read it as it is there anything being done about lost wages from on-campus employment? Would the CARES Act recoup those costs? And I know that just talking about many students being impacted. So just wanted to clarify if there was anything that students could do for lost wages based on employment on campus.
Okay. So CARES Act has been very specific. The government has been very specific with that language, and that it is to help students, to reimburse them for expenses incurred during this pandemic due to the disruption of the normal operation of our campus. They've also been very clear that we are not to replace lost wages with this. So the CARES Act funding itself does not replace any lost wages for students or parents. We've had a number of applications that came in as such, and I have emailed all of those students back. Simpson is not doing anything specifically either for lost wages at this time, and we won't be. We just put what we were doing into room and board refunds for students. There's just so much we can do. If your family has experienced lost wages and that's ongoing, there is a separate process, and I sent an email out a long time ago about this to students, and I maybe will send this again. Your FAFSA is built and based upon your family's 2018 income. And now that we're in 2020, a lot of families are without maybe 6 to 12. You can override your FAFSA with the appropriate documentation, but it still is a little early, believe it or not, to do that, because we're waiting to see how much income did you lose? When is that going to end for your family? And secondly, how much unemployment did you get? Because we have to count the unemployment. So for example, if your parents were both off work for 12 weeks and they got the unemployment and some of the bonus money, it's possible that they're not out a whole lot of wages. We can still look at their wages. That's called a professional judgment, and that's a separate process. It has nothing really to do with CARES, but we know that we're going to see an uptick in those professional judgments due to job losses.
Thank you, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi, an additional question for you related to housing on campus. Do you anticipate students will live in dorms in the fall, or will there be online courses in which students will continue to live at home?
So right now, our plan is to resume classes on campus in the fall. Obviously, we are going to be closely monitoring what happens with the pandemic over the next several months, but if the forecast that we have seen thus far proves accurate, we should be just fine to move ahead with coming back to campus. So we would expect most of our students to be doing most of their learning face-to-face. As an earlier question had asked about if a student has some reason for not being able to come to campus, we are going to be looking over the course of the summer how we would manage those kinds of requests. Christy, I'm thinking that there was a part of that question that I've missed.
No, talking about online courses being available to students who choose. Yep. Again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to chat me through the chat function and send those. I have made my way through all the additional ones. I just have one more that came in. Tracy, again, for you. Could you perhaps provide the email address that students can ask questions of you, where best to reach you at?
Sure. You could send it just for ease to FinAid, so it's like FINAID at simpson.edu. And you can also email me. It's Tracy, TRACIE.Pavon, PAVON at simpson.edu. Thank you, Lynn.
Wonderful. Those are the questions that I've received that have come in. I'll give everyone just an additional minute here and let you know that we are planning to do another town hall in June, and we'll be sharing the details of that town hall once that is scheduled. That'll be with our new president, President Kelleher, and we'll keep you posted and post it on social media as well as send you an email. Also, tonight's town hall has been recorded, so we will be sharing that as well. I'm going to go ahead and let my colleagues just kind of give a closing statement because I haven't gotten any additional questions. But if you do have any final questions, feel free again to just send them to me through the chat function. President Lane.
Thanks, Christy. And thank all of you for joining us this evening. As I said when we started, we know that none of you really wanted to experience a May term or second semester quite like this, nor did we. But I want you to know how proud I am of the whole Simpson family, what our students have done, what our faculty and staff have done to make lemonade out of lemons. It's been a trying time for all of us, and we're doing the best we can to ensure that you get the type of education that we think you deserve, and also in doing so, providing for your safety as well as the faculty and staff at the college. So with that, I wish you all the best. I hope your summers go well, and we'll look forward to seeing you back on campus at the end of August. Thank you. Cheryl?
Yeah, well, you didn't have many questions about academics, but I'll tell you anyway that there's a big conversation, like with all of these parts of reacting to the pandemic, going on among faculty as they begin to try and figure out what is the best way to begin planning for courses in the fall, and how will those be delivered, and what are going to be the arrangements for being face-to-face, and what kind of technology support maybe we will need. Should there be parts of that that will be aided with some kind of remote package as well? Nothing fully online at this point. We're not talking about that. But the whole point of the conversations has to do with how to deliver the best education possible. So faculty are working on that. Have a good summer. Be careful. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. All that good stuff. See you in the fall.
Well, I echo much of what Cheryl and Bob just said. Miss you dreadfully. And I am so looking forward to August and being able to welcome all of you back to campus. Between now and then, please don't hesitate to reach out if issues come up, if you've got questions, if you're not sure who is the right person to direct a question to. Be well, stay safe, hope your families are all well, and that you get to enjoy your summer.
Thank you all for joining on, and I know you have a lot of uncertainty and questions, and I echo everything that everyone else has said, but I just want you to be comfortable to reach out if you have questions about your financial aid or how this is going to work. There's oftentimes when we're overwriting FAFSAs, there's a lot of back and forth, but we'll help you through it. That's what we're here for. And I get it. I have 2 college kids at home, and they don't really want to be home right now. So we want you back as much as my kids want to be back. So take care. Be safe.
Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, if you have some questions or if something comes to mind later, you can send them through our COVID-19 at simpson.edu, and I'll ask Lynn to post that in the chat function, and we'll make sure that we address your questions. Also, we will again be having another town hall in the early June timeframe, and we'll be announcing that later this week. But be safe and be well, and have a great evening. Thank you.